Yeah. Oh. Eyes of gold. I didn't even know who you were, who you could be for me. Ooh. But I got somebody at home. Now you know that I hate to be alone, but your sins are that made me forget all the rest. So I let him go, let him go, let him go, just let him go. Baby, let her go, let her go. I let him go, let him go, let him go. Turn it up, baby, let him go, just let him go. Baby, let's just lose control. Let him go.
Eyes of gold, covered in truth that shows who you are, who you could be, not far from me. But I got somebody at home, and I just hate to feel alone. Girl, you're a stranger that made me forget all the rest. Ooh.
So I let him go, let him go, let him go, just let him go. Baby, let her go, let her go. I let him go, let him go, let him go. Turn it up, baby, let him go, just let him go. Baby, let's just lose control. Let him go. Baby, I never feel like I want you. My love is like a summertime. Every time I hear you, I just die a little bit away. When they can't touch me just like you do. I hear a love, but this shit right here is true. Yeah, yeah. Just let him go. Just let him go. Just let him go. When it's West Haunted, can't afford it. You know that love's the price to pay.
Once was haunted, couldn't avoid it. You shouldn't have to pay for love. Love.
I just let him go. I just let him go.
I let her go.
Let him go. Let him go. Turn it up, baby. Let him go. Just let him go. Baby, let's just lose control.
Let's lose control. Let him go, baby, baby.
Baby, love, no, no. Just let him go. Just let him go. No, 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 no. I get there, I'll know the answer. Let me know when I get closer. Winterland, you're my sailing ship. Guide me when you head for your trip. Right out of this wicked black and into bright sand. Straight toward the warm sun and into his hands. When I get there, I'll let my feet roll. When I get there, I'll break in your arms, I'll lose control. When I get there, I'll know the answer. Let me know when I get closer. Winterland, whisper in my ear, make my troubles all disappear. Way beyond this wicked black, I'll feel the soft sand. Right under the warm sun in his hands. When I get there, I'll let my feet roll. When I get there, I'll break in your arms, I'll lose control. When I get there, I'll know the answer. Let me know when I get closer. When I get closer. Let me know when I get closer. Open up the sky for me. When you say I'll dig much deeper, I will shout. Let me know when I get closer. Open up the sky for me. When you say I'll dig much deeper, I will shout. When I get there, I'll know the answer. Let me know when I get closer. When I get closer, will I get closer? Will I get closer?
I know you never felt this way. Cloud nine and we floating, and I ain't never coming down, no. Too high to see the ground, so yeah. If you wanna fly with me, yeah, I can take you on a journey, and you ain't gonna wanna come back. No, just give it to me. Just give it to me. Yeah, just give it to me. Give him everything you got, never hold back. Tell me how you feel when you do that. Yeah, just give it to me. Come on, just give it to me. That's an energy you feel when you let go. Go. So put your hands up. If you want it, you can get it tonight. If you want it, you can get it tonight. If you want it, you can get it tonight. Lose yourself. And let the spirit take you over tonight. If you want it, you can get it tonight. Let's go. I want that power. That power. Give me that power. If you want it, you can get it tonight. If you want it, you can get it tonight. I want that power. Just give it to me. That power. Just give me that power. If you want it, you can get it tonight. If you want it, you can get it tonight. Ain't no easy way. It's no shortcuts. Gotta seize the day.
ASL.
시청자 여러분
Greetings from Seoul, South Korea, and welcome to tonight's ASL Round of 8. This is the Africa StarLeague Brood War League, and we are finally making it through our round-robin stages, through our groups, all the way to the Round of 8. Tonight we have one final best of 5, but before we get into that, we will be having an interview between our two players. You guys will be seeing here tonight, it's Sak and Sharp.
이게 얼마만입니까? 조기석 선수의 만남은 2009년 프로리그 2군 평가전 거기서 만나고
So it's the first time playing against each other since 2009. It's been 7 years. Do you remember that day?
그냥 해야 될 것 같아요. 기억이 안 나가지고.
Sharp saying, or Sak saying he doesn't remember, but he does recall that they did play that match against each other. Now, how do you think about your opponent, Sharp, Sak? Sak says he's a very strong player. He was the third place player last season in the Advanced Star League. But since I don't really remember his games, I don't really think he was that impactful.
거품이라는 말씀인가요?
아니요, 뭐 거품은 아닌데.
솔직히. 저 어차피 저 ASL이니까 솔직하게 말씀해 주셔야 되거든요. 이것저것 따지지
Do you think he's a little bit overrated?
거품 낀 게 있나요?
거품 낄 것도 없다.
아 근데 진짜 기억이 안 나요.
Sak saying maybe a little bit, but I don't really remember his games.
다 코스로 지금 3위까지 차지했는데 최우선 선수 기억조차 안 난대. 어떤 플레이가
So going over to Sharp, you were the third place player last season, but Sak says he doesn't really remember you playing.
저도 기억이 안 나요.
네, 저도 기억이 안 나가지고 잘 모르겠어요.
Sharp also says, well, I don't really remember him playing last season at all. Was he in that tournament?
만큼은 진짜 이제 오프라인에서 이렇게 경기 대회에서 정말 잘한다는 선수로 생각하고 있는데 또 그 선수를 꺾고 올라간다면은
But he's a very strong TVT player.
올라가지 않을까 생각합니다.
But I want to defeat him tonight and prove that I am the top Terran.
예,
Bold statement equipped with Flash.
지금 서로가 서로에 대해서 모르는데 경기를 하고 있어요. 관심도 없다고 이야기를 하는데요.
So both of you really don't know about each other, it seems like. How do you prepare for today's games?
기분 좋게 한 게임은 져줄 수 있을 것 같아요. 그래서 한 3대1로.
Sak says, I think I can lose the set to him, so maybe I'll defeat him 3-1 tonight.
그렇다면요. 조기석 선수는요.
아 저는 첫 세트 잡으면 무조건 3대 0으로 이기지 않습니까?
3대 0이요.
예.
If I win the first set, I'm confident I can win 3-0 tonight.
자 이제
Sharp.
경기 시작됐습니다.
I'm not scared of him even a little bit.
자신감 내비쳤거든요. 어떤 결과 기다리고 있을까요? 여러분의 뜨거운 박수로 이번 대결을 시작하겠습니다.
That's going to do it for our opening player interviews. Let's go ahead and start up our matches. We're going to have a short video, so let's go ahead and check it out.
최호선, 조기석, ASL 시즌 1 8강.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. I am not Tasteless or Artosis. While those guys are away at DreamHack Montreal, I'm kind of the best that you have, so thank you for coming out and tuning in tonight. My name is Rapid. I'm from Dallas, Texas. I love long walks on the beach and believe that Harambe did nothing wrong. Much like his dreams, the dreams of one nerd tonight is about to get crushed, or are about to get crushed if you guys are grammatically conscious. We're finally in the round of 8, and that means that, strangely enough, there are that many players left to play. However, tonight we'll only be checking out 2 of them in a best of 5. Now you're saying, well, Rapid, best of 5 can be as short as 3 games. How are you going to fill our very elongated time slot? And I would say, well, that may be the case for a lot of different esports. But for Brood War, when it comes to best of series, especially if they do wind up going a little bit later into 4 or 5 games, they can actually be quite long, with games easily spanning upwards of an hour, or as short as maybe 20 minutes. So get some popcorn, settle down in your chair, but make sure you have good posture, because I know you guys sit at the computer a lot. I do, and that is why I am continually reminding myself to stand up straight in front of the camera tonight. Not to mention, I'm used to being over here, and now I'm over here, so we're all adjusting to different things. So while you guys adjust to me and adjust to maybe this format, it's going to be interesting to highlight both of our players here tonight. We've got Sock and Sharp. It's SSAK, so pretend like you're somebody from New England saying the word for the things that you put on your feet before you put on shoes. If you don't put on socks before you put on your shoes, then you are gross. Do that. It keeps everything from smelling, and that's the biggest, most important lesson you guys are learning here tonight. Other than to definitely check out DreamHack Montreal and tell Tasteless and Artosis that you hope that they can get back, because I definitely do too. But yeah, like I said, our two players here tonight, it's going to be a TVT between Sock and Sharp. Sock saying that he didn't really remember too many of Sharp's games, but I actually do, and I think a lot of people, if you guys have been watching some of the more recent Brood War leagues, things like the Advanced StarLeague, which is immediately preceding this one, that's where you might have gotten a chance to see Sharp, just because he did finish third. I think he got 3-0'd by 0 in the, semifinals, because that's where you get third. But either way, he did actually place very, very highly in a very competitive StarLeague, and so Sharp probably has a little bit of an edge tonight. In fact, when I was checking out the Team Liquid article on this, I think most people predicted a 3-1 for Sharp, with some controversial opinions thrown in there. Of course, I'm just disappointed that I didn't get a chance to give any Artosis predictions and calculate everything right down to the 100th of a percentile, like my PSAT scores, which apparently are more important than the predictions for tonight. But if you guys have any predictions, definitely get out there and let us know. You can let me know on Twitter at RapidCasting. I'm going to be plugging that a lot tonight because I can. So yeah, let me know if you have any predictions. It's Sharp versus Sock in our first series tonight. Spoiler alert, it's our only series for tonight, so I don't hope you guys weren't getting your hopes up for anything other than amazing Brood War, because that's pretty much what's coming. It's going to be a TVT. If you guys are unfamiliar with TVTs, you guys are going to find out here tonight. But before we find out about that, let's take a look at our brackets. You can see Sock and Sharp are our first two players. That's what you'll be watching tonight. And then, of course, on Tuesday, hope to see you guys back here for C versus Hero. Now, that's actually a really storied matchup. Those players have faced off so many times in Brood War, and I'm excited to get a chance to talk about them. Of course, that will be on Tuesday. And then Jaehoon versus Eyewater. And Last versus Flash. Now, do note that there is a small schedule change next week. We'll be having it on Sunday at 1 p.m. KST, and then on Monday at our regularly scheduled time, 7 p.m. KST. So we're moving it one day earlier for our second match, and we are having it at an earlier time there on Sunday next week. So just note the schedule change and check out the players, especially our last bracket. There's going to be on Monday, Last versus Flash. You thought this was going to be a good TVT? Oh my god, Last versus Flash is going to be so sick. I'm a little bit sad that guys like Best couldn't have made it out of the group. Guys like Effort also did not make it out. And that's where maybe Sock has a small advantage, just because he is kind of at the top of his game. He was in the group with Effort and managed to escape unscathed. Well, not unscathed, but you guys get the idea. And so here are the players for our first match tonight. I think we're going to be opening this up on Central Protocol, and then moving on through our map pool, closing it out with Overwatch in set 4, and then wrapping it back around the Central Protocol should it go all the way to 5 games. Circuit Breakers. I was saying Central Protocol because I watched that map be played earlier on today, but this is Circuit Breakers, so goes to show you how good my ability to read Hangul is, which is not very good at all. Unlike these players' ability to play on that map, which is something we've been blessed with seeing all season long. So now you guys finally get a chance to see our players here tonight. It is Sock, coming out with a loss to Free, but a win over Shuttle and Effort in their respective group. And that's what's so sick, is that it just amazes me that we live in a world where Effort, the guy that is probably one of, if not the strongest Brood War player right now, didn't make it out of his group. That is Insanity. And we're going to be seeing Insanity named Sock here in the flesh. He's going to be our first player, but definitely not our last, because that would make it a one-player game, and nobody watches those. Actually, people do, but that's another story. Here on the other side will be his opponent. This is Sharp. Sharp, you guys got a chance to see a lot of, thanks to both resetting the bracket for his tiebreakers and being in the tiebreakers in the first place. He was able to take out everyone else in the tiebreakers the second time around and advance on to the round of 8 along with Jaehoon. So he is our second player here tonight, maybe a little bit more experienced, and certainly excited to see him. Maybe a slight favorite, but we should be seeing a relatively even matchup, which may be slightly Sharp favored. Somebody out there is, and looks like we are going to see exactly how these opponents are going to kind of check each other out, how they measure up against each other. You can see that Sock is actually super great at whatever is up at the top. Unfortunately, looks like top is offense. And then we're going to move over to what is 7th for Sock. That is mentality. And then over on the other side is defense, which apparently Sock is 6 at. Down at the bottom left is micro, and at the bottom right is macro. So you can see really Sock being evaluated at being higher than Sharp at just about everything. However, you can see Sharp is maybe a little bit more of a favorite. At least that's the global perspective. If you guys believe the guys on Team Liquid, which I will leave up to you and your very responsible internet using fingers. So for tonight, Sock versus Sharp, it seems like when you evaluate things this way that Sock might have a slight advantage, but whatever side of the issue you are on, that's why we actually play these games, so that we can see who is going to come out of the round of 8 and make it to our next series. And of course, especially tomorrow's games, here versus C. It's sort of like, yeah, you made it to the round of 4 and you have to play the winner of that series. So super, super tough group, incredibly stacked tournament. That's why it is so good to see Brood War back, much like Sock. And he is going to be facing off against Sharp in our first game of the night. This is going to be so sick. Tell your friends, get them in here. Brood War has never been stronger than it is right now. That's a lie, but it's getting back there. So stick around and let's get into our first game of the night. Sock versus Sharp. In the bottom right on Circuit Breaker, this is Sock. He will be playing in the orange, looks like for now. In the bottom left, in the red, this is his opponent, Sharp. Looking pretty sharp there in his ASL shirt. You cannot buy those shirts. I tried. Fortunately, I'm looking a little bit less sharp today. Actually, I'm super jealous because I think Tasteless wore this jacket last, and it's pretty sharp in its own regard. But let's actually get into the game and talk a little bit about Brood War TVT. Now, I do not have the same background that Tasteless and Artosis do, but I have definitely watched a lot of TVTs and Brood War in my day. And so as far as what we should see tonight, besides super sick pictures of the casters and talking about maybe donating balloons to their favorite BJs. The BJ is a broadcast jockey. It's basically like a streamer on AfreecaTV before you guys get your hopes up. So talking about TVT, that's what I was trying to do before I got distracted by amazing caricatures. TVT should be fairly standard. Now, there's a couple of different ways that you can do it, but most revolve around heavy mech with lots and lots and lots of vultures. You guys are like, what's vultures? I only play StarCraft 2. Well, I'm glad you asked. Vultures are like Hellions crossed with like phoenixes. That's kind of the best way to think about them. If you're great at your micro, you can kill just about everything and never die, which is another great facet of Brood War. That basically, no matter what you do, every single facet of the game is pretty much determined by how good your micro is. There we go. The tiny little things that you do, whether it's going back to your command center and sending your workers to manually mine minerals, which you do have to do, or whether it's microing your army as it scouts to get around or up and down ramps, which can be pretty difficult. Especially if you're Protoss and you like to move your Dragoons places, which is probably the most difficult thing to do in Brood War. But either way, just checking things out and making sure that we don't have anything too crazy. Okay, so what you just saw right there was Sock in the orange lift his barracks up. And you're like, well, why is he lifting his barrack? Doesn't he need to make a Marine? Well, yes. So what you should see here is the barrack lift up and float over. You have to build a barracks before you build a factory. It's not rocket science, but you do need a factory if you're going to go mech. You do not need a barracks if you're going to go mech. So that's exactly why you see that lifted. It's probably just going to be for scouting purposes, but a lot of times what you see is it lands near the base, makes a couple of Marines, but if it doesn't, it just is straight up for scouting purposes, and that's what we'll be seeing here. Now, on the other side, for Sharp, he actually went with an early command center. Now, what that command center is going to allow him to do is mine minerals, guys. That's my expert analysis for the day. We have a little bit of not necessarily harassment, but just plain scouting. There, as Sharp is able to see everything that's going on, and I'm not sure if he was just trying to block that command center. It looks like he was, but it's still going to be built as that SCV provides a little bit of harassment because there's actually no offensive units out for either side, which is, you might think is really weird and maybe exploitable, but that's just kind of the way things are, especially if both players scout it out. Now, I don't believe that Sock has actually seen too much of what Sharp is doing. You can see him sending his SCV and his barracks down there to check things out. There's a bunker out there, and that bunker is just because he went for a command center first. So if Sock had been going for some sort of crazy like triple barracks rush or anything crazy like that, then he would have been safe for that. And you pretty much need to do that because, especially if you scout cross map, then you're not going to be able to react in time if there is a rush and you don't scout it immediately. So here you can see the first of what you will see many of, and those are vultures. That one's out for Sock, and you should see a relatively similar strat here for Sharp. Now, Sharp is going to have a better economy because he did get that earlier command center. You guys are like, well, why are you telling me that? That makes so much sense. Well, surprise, if you have played any version of StarCraft, then you're going to see a lot of trends between the two of them. And I'll do my best to try to point those out as we get through the games tonight. So you can see a couple of early Marines here for Sharp. That's mostly to push this barracks back. Terran building still burned down, so just gets it burning. It's going to get out of there and most likely land and be repaired at some point, but no really big deal just yet. So like I said, a stronger economy for Sharp, and Sock's still trying to see exactly what he will be going for. Just building up a bunch of barrackses, barraxi. They will be, or not barracks, those are factories. See, I'm looking at the factories and I'm saying the word barracks, and all of a sudden it's almost like I really wish I had somebody else to laugh at my jokes and talk when I need to stop, which is probably a lot of the time. But so very, very defensive start by Sharp. He's just totally content to mine his little heart away. Now, this map is Circuit Breaker, so it's one of the circular maps. It's got expansions all along the outside. And the third base, in case you guys are wondering about that or why we haven't seen it taken just yet, the third base is mineral only. And if you guys are going for a mech strategy, it depends on which strat you're going for. If you're going for a lot of high-tech units, then you you generally want to expand to a base that has gas just because they do cost a lot of that. Otherwise, you can just mine a ton of minerals and spam vultures. And to be fair, we should actually see a ton of vultures out there. Now, what you just got a chance to see there on your screen for Sharp is that he's actually going to go ahead and tech up to a starport. And that starport is most likely going to be for wraiths. You don't have medevacs, you can't lift and drop your tanks while they're sieged. That would be so broken in Brood War. But you are going to see maybe wraiths come out of that. Now, wraiths do not do a lot of damage to ground units. They're primarily to establish air superiority. So think of them as a little bit like Vikings combined with a very, very weak version of the Banshee, if you want to think about it that way. They also have Cloak, that's why I'm comparing them to the Banshee as well, and they can shoot ground. And so what that's going to do is try to stop these big tank lines from being set up. Now, what you can see in the middle of the mini-map there, all of the little orange dots and stuff, those are spider mines, and that means that's sort of the other mini-game that you have to play in a TVT. Besides sieging and unsieging your tank lines, you have to go for some way to clear out the spider mines. You can either build that academy, like you would see back in Sock's base, and then scan the window mines away. Or you can build a science vessel, which does take a science facility and then add-ons and cool stuff like that. Either way, what you're probably going to see here is a drop for Sharp. Now, drops are not necessarily super, super popular just because drop ships themselves are very, very fragile. So if they run into a turret and you don't catch it in time, then you're going to have some problems. Now, whoa, got to hit those widow mines, or not the widow mines, the spider mines. They look like spiders, not widows. Either way, here comes a vulture drop on in there, on into Sock's base. Let's see how much damage these vultures can do. Vultures kill SCVs so fast. So we'll see how much damage we can get here. 1, 2, 3. I want to say that's 3 SCVs going down. And notice there's no anti-air, no like Goliaths or Rays there in that pit, or in that the base there for Socks. So Sharp's just able to load up his vultures, get on out of there, and that's it. He also, I believe, laid spider mines within the base. Now, spider mines are not set off by vultures or by SCVs, so it's actually totally fine, at least for now, as long as you don't like run a tank over them. Then things get pretty bad. All right, so now we're starting to see our first big confrontation. Who's going to siege up first? It looks like Sharp does get his siege tanks siege a little bit ahead of schedule. Now here comes that dropship back in again, back at it again with the vulture harass. Dropped inside the base. Now how many of these vultures can he save? It looks like he was able to pick up 1 or possibly 2. I didn't see if that last one died before it got in the dropship. But yeah, we have seen that dropship a couple times. It's pretty good at harassing, as dropships are wont to do, or want to be, as the case may be. Now, one of the cool things about this is that you're starting to see some of the stylistic differences of both of these players. A lot of you guys may say, oh, it's just a TVT, there's nothing really unique about this because they all have the same units. Well, no, because they're not exactly doing the same things, and that's why Brood War is such a cool game. Might see a scan here. Looks like those tanks are just barely in range of each other. Okay, what was I saying? Stylistic differences. So for Sharp, you saw him go for a little bit of harass. So he's saying, okay, I want to limit your economy, maybe stress your multitasking, and just see, you know, what are the seams, the fault lines that you're going to break on. Now, on this other side, we're starting to see vulture on vulture combat, and this is where Sock has actually shown a little bit of prowess this game. It looks like Sock actually does have more vultures there, so you probably want to back off if you're Sharp. Now Sharp, because he has less vultures, is probably going to play a little bit more defensively, or just back off slowly. Vultures, once again, do not pop those spider mines, so they're not going to have to worry about any sort of crazy mine drags or anything like that. In the middle of the map, this is pretty much a no man's land. You can see it made even more of a no man's land by that sole solitary single Wraith out there pushing the barracks back away. Oh, that's actually really cool. Sock is able to sneak one of those little SCVs on top of one of Sharp's tanks. And it actually looks like, I didn't catch this earlier, but I was checking out the mini-map, and it looks like Sock has actually taken that 6 o'clock base, which is actually pretty ballsy because it's directly, it's as close as you can get to Sharp's base. Actually, no, those are just spider mines. I'm sorry, guys, I'm looking at the super tiny mini-map and trying to figure out exactly what those dots are down there. But either way, trying to keep an eye on what's happening here in the middle of the map, because this is where the game is kind of won and lost. If either one of these tank lines just disappears, then whoever's tank line disappeared loses. It's not rocket science once again. Even you can play Brood War. So a little bit sloppy there on the Vulture movement. Sharp got a few of those picked off, but now comes sort of the next step of the game. You could have just 2 players who made these huge tank lines and that's it, but turns out you need to make more stuff. So how are you going to do that? You set up more bases. I'm glad you asked. So how do you set up bases? Well, you can either build them manually or you can float them there, and that's exactly what you see being done. It looks like Sock had a slightly faster 3 o'clock base, whereas the 9 o'clock is just now being taken by Sharp. So that means that there's a couple of ways to win the games. You either win a big engagement, come out with more military, and kill the other guy's stuff. Alternatively, you can actually just starve out your opponent, and a lot of times in TVT that can be a more common way to win the game, just because you have these big siege tank lines. Siege tanks are pretty good, and so you generally don't want to engage into a siege tank line because it takes an incredible amount of micro, and your macro also has to be really good because it's all about numbers of siege tanks and how you juggle their fire. Now, what you can see Sharp starting to do here is clearing out some of the Widow or the spider mines that have been placed. There's actually a huge engagement, but so many vultures coming in from Sock. Now, vultures don't do a ton of damage to tanks, but they will be able to take them out in sufficient number. And it does look like they are. You can see Sock's tanks sieging up, and they are going to be able to break this upper part of the tank line for Sharp, which is where co-caster number 2 would normally pick up after I've just gotten done yelling my lungs out. Unfortunately, I am the literal casting Archon, and I have both casters in one body, which is actually just me. So hopefully we're going to see how this works. Now it looks like Sharp is trying to come up and re-establish a siege line that will protect his 9 o'clock base. He is mildly successful in that regard, and it looks like he's actually able to take out quite a few of Sharp's vultures, or of Sock's vultures. So right now it's all about protecting your bases. You can see that Sharp is desperately trying to move up higher in the map to protect that 9 o'clock, whereas Sock has actually sort of reached his giant metallic Terran arm over into the middle of the map and is now trying to maybe crush down on both the tank line there for Sharp. And now here we go, moving the tanks in. Do need to siege those up, or might actually just have too many. This is actually a big push here for Sharp, and he's managed to break through the middle of Sock's siege line. Now, what Sharp doesn't know, and I don't believe he's scanned it, is that Sock has been pooling raids. Now, raids are a little bit like carriers in that you want them to be a surprise. You make a lot of them, you keep them secret, and then you bust them out. And if your opponent doesn't know, he loses all of his tanks. And oh, nice mines there. But GG coming out from Sock. All right, that means Sharp takes game number 1, and I think Sock basically knew that raids were not going to be the answer after his tank line had gotten broken. He just did not have enough to win it at the end. I'm not going to lie, guys, I am slightly surprised by that. There is more likely than not one tiny thing that I missed that I shouldn't have. That means that you guys tweet that at me and let me know, which is the interactive part of tonight's games. But yeah, that is going to do it for our first game in this best of 5. Sharp coming out on top. So all right, hopefully that wasn't too incredibly difficult. It's not like you're taking tests here. You always get 100 when you watch Brood War broadcasts, so thanks for tuning in. That was actually a pretty cool game. You got a chance to see pretty bread and butter TVT. Big tank lines. You get to see a lot of vulture play, lots of spider mines, a few little drop shenanigans there for Sharp, and ultimately a win in game number 1. Now that is just game number 1. We've got a best of 5 here tonight, so if they all go that long or longer, we might be here for a while. But that's okay because we get to watch a Brood War League in 2016. That's pretty damn exciting. So if you guys think that's exciting, or even if you don't, get some of your friends together, get out here, and I'll be glad that you guys are sitting in the air conditioning while I have giant lights on me, which you might think is very glamorous, but in fact is just a secret way for me to tan in front of thousands of people watching. So I do want to thank everybody for coming out, and hopefully you guys can stick around because we've got 4 possibly more games coming up, although with a win in game number 1 for Sharp, if you guys remember his interview from earlier, he actually said that if he won the first game, he felt confident that he could take a 3-0 victory, in which case he, I, and everyone who's not watching online will be able to catch the subway home, which is always one of the big bonuses of esports events here in Korea. They sometimes close early, sometimes they don't, but we'll find out when we get back after a short commercial break.
기가 IoT 헬스. 올레 TV 켜고 퍼팅하고 바이크 타고 체지방 체크까지 실감나게 재밌다. 기가 IoT 헬스. 김지원의 KT.
네, 여러분 안녕하세요. 2016년 제주항공 모델 송중기입니다. 리프레쉬 제주예요.
How you star? Every day. 여기요.
대결의 룰을 아십니까? 승리한 자는 패배한 자의 트로피를 뺏습니다. 그리고 그의 자존심까지도. 클래시 로얄.
이 인형이 너의 슬픔을 씻어줄 것이다. RPG의 검은 획을 긋다. 크라이.
내 뒤에서 먼지나 먹으시지.
기분 째지는데?
질서와 수호를 위해서라면
마귀의 화염이.
누구도 나를 막을 순 없어. 방해하겠다면 전부 부숴주지.
지구끼리는 역시 배달통. 배달의 힘 배달통. 메이플 스토리 2 신규 직업 스트라이커.
이거 좋은데?
봄꽃책에서 듣다. 있는 그대로 맑고 깨끗하게 피어나라고 겨울을 이겨낸 봄꽃이 내게 말했다. 맑고 깨끗한 칠성사이다.
답답할 때 마셔봐요 트로피카나. 상큼상큼 과일 듬뿍 스파클링. 리얼 프루트를 스파클링으로 과즙이 톡톡 쏜다. 트로피카나 스파클링.
미소가 생기다. 화사함이 생기다. 건강한 하루가 생기다. pH 8.0과 풍부한 미네랄로 핑크빛 생기가 생기다. 아이시스 8.0. 이제 모두 핑크하세요. 하면 되는 거야. 상쾌함의 높이가 다르다.
Stylish sparkling water. 롯데 트레비.
메신저의 혁신입니다. 이런 실시간 라이브 움짤 기능은 지금 스노우앱에서밖에 없죠. 굉장히 많은 팬분들이 영상 메시지와 메신저를 보내주고 계십니다. 아프리카 원탑 역캠답게 이설이라고 메시지가 왔는데 길 가다 만나지 마라. 길 가다 만나지 마라고. 느낌 있죠? 리본 하나 찬 다음에 딸랑딸랑 고양이 섹시합니다. 외쳐 스노우. 헬라맛.
오호, 물로 지금 거의 뭐 수분을 그냥 갖다 들이붓는 것 같아요. 자, 바른 쪽과 안 바른 쪽입니다. 차이 보여드릴게요. 내가 발라봤는데 개편해. 앞으로 그냥 나도 찍어 발라야 될 것 같아요. 잘 봐요. 자, 이렇게 깔끔하게 아래쪽만 다듬어도 선이 딱 살아있잖아요. 선 라인 자체가. 잠깐만. 이런 느낌이구나. 허허. 오늘 여러 가지 제품들 올리브영에서 제가 지금 제품을 받아서 사용을 해봤는데 굉장히 좋은 것 같아요. 올리브영 제품이 짱인 것 같습니다.
ASL.
Welcome back, everyone, to the ASL. You guys are in the right place tonight. I don't even know where you are. As long as you're here, it's good. And it's the round of 8 for the ASL. We're finally into what sort of heralds the end of what has been a great tournament so far. Out of the group stages, into the brackets, and there on your screen is the man who came out with a win in game number 1, Sharp. Kind of a favorite in a lot of people's perspectives, but very even game number 1. You saw pretty much all the hallmarks of a classic Brood War Terran TVT, which is of course what the T's stand for in Terran. There on the other side you can see Sock. Now Sock went for maybe a little bit of an aggressive, a more aggressive early game. He was the first guy to have vultures out on the map. He had more vultures, laying a bunch of spider minefields, but in the end it was a very well executed push by Sharp in right through the middle of the map. Come out with a win in game number 1. So let's go ahead and get into game number 2 coming up. And here we go in the bottom left-hand corner of the map in the blue. It is Sock. And over on, or up in the upper left side of the map is Sharp in the green or teal, even though that's more like a sea shade of that. Either way, we have an early SCV moving out. Now, this is most likely for a barracks in the middle of the map, which is kind of cool because this will be a more aggressive way to start things out. Now, this is, I believe, one of the strategies that was very, very successful against Sock in the group stages, but here we go, moving the SCV down, not actually making the barracks in the middle of the map, might be making it a little bit closer to the base. Now, I'm not exactly sure about the architecture here, but if I am correct, that means that you make the barracks on the high ground right here, and then lift it and then float it right back down. You'll notice that there's nothing going on in the base except for mining, and here it comes. Now, you'll actually notice if you look inside Sock's base, I'm looking to see the blobs, and I think he has yet to start a barracks. Now, in Brood War, there's no real decision about the order in which you make your buildings, so you do not have to make a supply depot before you make a barracks. If I'm wrong about that, then somebody correct me, but I don't think I am. You'll notice that the barracks for Sock is actually significantly slower than this one for Sharp. This is you know, cheddar, Gouda, Limburger, whatever you want to call it. It is the cheesiest here. It's the Kraft Mac and Cheese build for Sharp, and it looks like everything's kind of going according to plan. He's got his barracks much more quick. He has built his barracks much more quickly. There we go. English. How does it work? Nobody told me that. So here we go. Marine already building. Back in the back. This is going to be a very, very fast rush. So what you should see here is the Marine and an SCV together walk into the base and then try to position themselves in a way that will give the Marine a great opportunity to get off an effective amount of harassment. Now that's what you see here with the bunker coming down. There's another SCV coming back from the base, and all this combined will mean that this is going to be not necessarily a run the Marine into the SCV line and lose it. This is more of a hard contain, but it's still very, very, very aggressive, hyper aggressive, and you can guarantee Sock did not know that this was coming. He's still waiting on a little bit more, or a few more Marines, but you can see that this is actually really difficult to deal with because at this point there's only one Marine out for Sock. He doesn't have enough to deal with this. Now there's 3 running the SCVs through. You can see he's actually using that SCV drill technique to run all the way through, and this is actually great. He's killing off at least one Marine. Needs to get that bunker up, and he does with 2 Marines in it. This is horrible for Sock. Now the bunkers are not within range of each other, but this is going to be a slow bunker crawl into Sock's base. Sharp has actually managed to achieve most. There's a checklist here for this. You have to be unscouted. You have to be able to get these bunkers up, and it does appear as if the 3rd bunker, which is the big important one, is actually having a few more difficulties, but there just aren't that many Marines out for Sock. He only has 1, and with 3 Marines chasing it, it's gonna go down. One of the Marines there for Sharp will die, and oh, he does actually cancel that bunker. Now, have yet to see exactly what the strat is. Sharp's SCV is waiting outside the base. If he builds a command center there and starts smiling, okay, yeah, that's not going to happen. But with this Vulture coming out, it's actually a little bit sloppy there for Sharp to lose that Marine because you can just hop it inside the bunker. Now, I'm still kind of waiting to see what that SCV is chilling around there for. I mean, that's the place you put it to build a command center, but I'm not sure exactly if he's going to do just that. Now, if I'm not mistaken, he actually lifted that barracks, so we might see Sharp pull out and decide that this has been enough damage, go back home, and make something else happen. But if you actually look at the middle of the map, you can see that I believe that is a floating barracks that might be looking to put some pressure onto Sharp if it makes it there. Once again, the world's loneliest SCV is just kind of chilling out. Not exactly sure. Now, okay, so this is the barracks floating in for Sharp to see exactly what is going on here. And if you notice, there is that starport built as sort of the comeback mechanic. Now, this push is not going to last forever, and losing half the health on that tank and Vulture is extremely careless, although it does make the bunker burn for a little bit until it's repaired there by that SCV. However, as soon as siege mode is researched, that will destroy the bunker, obviously, but with this Wraith out especially, I don't know if there's exactly how this game is going to play out, because the game did not end. So anytime you invest that much into a super hardcore early push, that's just not going to be the way that you win the game. A lot invested into it. You can actually see that the barracks from Sock has landed in Sharp's base and is actually producing a Marine. That's a little bit strange, but there's not a whole lot there to defend it. And with tanks, Marines out here for Sock, I'm pretty sure he's held this very well. You can see flying across the map, these are raids, and without any anti-air in his base, Sharp might just GG right now. There's no Cyclones, there's no Widow Mines, there's nothing that can actually shoot up there for Sharp, and he is going to lose a lot. Now, it should be noted that while Marines can shoot up and Raids are very bad at shooting down, they're still better than just single Marines. So this is actually a little bit less successful than I expected, just because Raids are actually so bad at dealing damage to ground units. You saw that SCVs are actually able to repair themselves enough to keep from dying here, but there are, little by little, these Raids are actually accomplishing a lot here. This tank actually might go down here to 3 Marines, but tanks are so good here in Brood War, they should be able to take those out. You can even see an SCV coming to repair that tank, meaning that Sharp is actually in a lot of trouble. Where is his anti-air? It's just going to be Marines, and you can see that Shisak has actually landed his barracks at the entrance to Sharp's base. And that means that Sharp actually can't get the units that are outside it back in to defend. Now, he does have to lift it, obviously, as that tank does come out, but man, this is a crazy start to the game. And of course, it seems that way to me just because Brood War is coming back. It's a brand new era. I have gotten a chance to watch, I think, Sharp stream once. But if this is something that happens every game, I would be very, very surprised because it's very, very different. Either way, it's very exciting, and I'm just glad that we have a chance to watch this unfold before our very eyes and kind of get a chance to see who is ahead and where exactly we find ourselves. Now, a little bit careless micro there, losing the first Goliath, but just using it to tank up and make sure that this tank-on-tank action goes in Sharp's favor. He's going to be pulling a few SCVs to try to repair these tanks and make them more able to get out there, fight things off, and come back. But in case you guys haven't forgotten, and I promise you Sharp hasn't, there are these 2 raids in the mineral line. Now, I don't know how to do it. What's a good analogy for how slowly raids kill things? Just 2 raids is not going to be able to devastate the SCV line like 2 vultures would be able to. Let's put it that way. But with a solid push out here, I think Sharp may just have done it. He's going to survive. All of his tanks are going to survive except for, I believe, 1, and the push out is complete. Now all you have to do is save your SCVs. I believe he lost his Goliaths until just now, and there's GG for Sharp because Cloak just finished Sock coming out on top. Oh my god, what a good game. And this is why Brood War is probably the best. I'll leave that up to your interpretation, but if it's based on games like that, then it is so sick. 1-1 now in our best of 5 for the night, as a very interesting start to the game there for Sharp. Kind of backfires, unable to close things out in the early game with that bunker rush. Still trying to figure out what that SCV was doing down by the natural expansion of Sock. I may never know, but that is going to do it for our second game of the day. I am super excited to be able to cast games like that, and I hope you guys are excited to watch. If you are, then tweet at me and let me know. Tweet at your friends and let them know. If your friends don't have Twitter, then make them get it. I think I made my Twitter maybe like 2010 because Tasteless and Artosis told me to, so it was a good enough reason for me. And if you guys want to tweet at them and tell them that you wish they were casting instead, then I highly recommend that because I don't know. I miss those guys. I think Artosis has been gone on vacation or actually dead, depending on which stories you read and whether or not you trust Twitch chat. He's actually been on vacation for a while, and Tasteless went to join him. So that means that I'm kind of holding down the fort here. I think right while I am casting, Brennan and Wolf are doing Pro League, so there's lots of StarCraft out there. Hopefully you guys are fans of just anything named StarCraft, because it's all kind of under the same umbrella of awesomeness, much like that game you just mentioned, or witnessed. Mentioned. I don't know. It's a long night, guys, and it's going to be longer now that it is essentially a best of 3, and with no commercial break in between our games, that means that we are actually going straight to our 3rd match of this best of 3. I believe this will be on Fighting Spirit, if I'm not mistaken. Sock versus Sharp, all tied up. 1 match apiece here. Game number 3 starts right now. In the bottom, in the blue, is our Terran Sharp. They're actually both in the bottom, so that didn't help at all. But in the red, this is... No, that was Sock. This is Sharp. Okay, a little bit disoriented, but finally we do know who is who. Do not unfortunately know what that sign means because my Hangul is terrible. But there in the blue is Sock, a very, very standard map, probably the most standard map that you'll see in this map pool. I almost guarantee you, if you have played Brood War in the last, I don't know, several months, let's just call it this year, then you've played on Fighting Spirit. It's one of the most common maps in the world, or at least right now. Trying to think of a good analogy. If you guys played Brood War back several years ago, this is sort of like the destination, that one map that you just always play on her. It's probably actually been around that long, but either way, very, very standard map, 4-player map, and we'll see exactly how this one unfolds. Game number 1 was fairly standard, game number 2 was fairly not. And so this time around, you're going to see very standard openings from both players. This is sort of like the Frost of our modern Brood War pool. Another incredible piece of artwork brought carefully down to the studio before being enshrined in the Louvre. Now we get a chance to see exactly what is going on. So this for Sock is a fairly standard opener. It's a little bit aggressive, but what you do is you build your barracks on the high ground, then float it down to the low ground to be part of the wall off. So there we go, seeing the artists behind that beautiful creation. And you should see a fairly standard or fairly similar start there on the other side for Sharp. You might be asking, well, Rapid, why do they only take one gas geyser? My answer is because there is only one gas geyser. You get more gas from it, but there is only one. And you know, much like Highlander, there's only one per base. And some of the bases actually do not have gas geysers because it makes it a little bit more strategic. If you get a mineral-only base, sure, you get more minerals, but then you're not going to be able to have as much tech out there as if you took maybe a more risky third base. Now, a lot of times that's what you'll see happen is that players will actually go take the base of another main, which is further out across the map, instead of a close third or fourth base, just because they do want the gas geyser there, depending on what your strategy is or what their plans are. So we do see the first few Marines. Generally, there are a few Marines produced early on. This is not necessarily guaranteed to be bio, but it's at least not quite as hard of a mech play as we saw in game number 1. This Marine most likely just used to escort this SCV out of the base and progress towards the rest of the tech. Now you can see that Sock is actually floating his barracks. Anytime you see a floating barracks, well, almost every time you see a floating barracks, that does mean that we're going for mech, and that's exactly what Sharp has signaled there. Now that he has his factory out, should begin producing a vulture as soon, or very soon, as here comes the second base, which is oftentimes called the natural expansion for both players. Oh my god. All right, so this is not necessarily, well, I guess that is technically a 1-1-1 build for Sock. I don't believe that term existed back in the day for Brood War. If it did, then maybe I am just not old enough for that. Either way, this is a very high-tech, very slow start for Sock, which I would actually be very paranoid about if I were in his position after that super hardcore aggressive early game number 2. He's now going into a much more passive start to the game. That's exactly what you see there for both players. So we actually get to see an interesting different style. Now, what you see right there is that Sock is actually hiding vultures underneath trees. Now, because of the isomorphic, or isometric, forget which one is which. Somebody tweet me out the difference between those two words. But because of the way that you view the map from that angle, it can be hard to see units underneath trees. There's also a mischance in Brood War, and if you're right next to an artifact, so something like a critter, something like a tree in the middle of the map, then there's a higher chance that shots coming your way will miss. Now, here's a bunch of vultures there for Sharp trying to clear things out. SCV is being used to try to block that ramp to prevent more vultures from coming in. But you can see the same thing on the other side. Looks like Sharp getting a lot of SCV kills, but here finally Sock has a tank to push these vultures back away. That's actually quite a few vulture or SCV kills that Sharp was able to get. And I didn't catch how many Sock got on the other side, but I'm going to assume that it's kind kind of comparable, but this might be what changes things around. The Wraith coming in from Sock, trying to harass Sharp and maybe disrupt some of his building, or just get some SCV kills in the mineral line. However, if you guys thought 2 Wraiths didn't do very much damage in game number 2, then 1 Wraith does half as much of no damage, which is actually none. Now, there are more Wraiths coming out, and this is going to be the tech that, because it's so early, might be surprising enough to really have a detrimental effect at any sort of build that Sharp is trying to go for. However, he does have an armory up. That means Goliaths, and there is already one to try to keep things a little bit safer. Now, the raids for Sock have actually been pulled back and are being used to get that barracks out of the way. Now, that barracks will actually die, so it's going to need to be rebuilt for Sharp if he wants to continue making factories, and I promise you he does. That is okay. Well, the Goliath trying to save it, but no, man. You're gonna need a little bit more than that. The barracks finally does die, but it should be being rebuilt in Sharp's base. Now, this is actually a very strong push for Sharp. He not only has Goliath to protect his mech that's pushing out on the map, but he also is going to be okay, well, I was actually thought he might be going into some other form of anti-air in his base, either turrets or raids of his own. But it looks like this is actually just going to be a strong push out for Sharp, saying, hey man, you invested too much into that Wraith, into Wraiths and the Wraith tech. You just don't have enough to defend. Nice mine coming down there. Will it be targeted? It is. You have to manually click on those mines to target them down. And so this is sort of the dynamic here. Sock spent a lot of minerals and gas on tech, and that means that he is going to be weaker when it comes up to just straight up mech muscle. That's the win condition here for Sharp. He's saying, you don't have enough tanks, you built raids, so I'm just going to crush you. But Sharp on the other side is actually taking a few losses and quite a bit of harassment from Sock's raids in his own base. So we get an interesting dynamic, high tension, even though we're not seeing anything going on the map right now. I can guarantee that is what is on both players' minds. Starting to see remnants of game number 1 as the tank lines do begin being built. You can see, at least from the map architecture, somewhat similar to Circuit Breaker in that the it's a map with the bases spread out around the outside. And, well, this one has bases in the middle, but you'll very rarely see those taken unless one player has an incredibly strong tank line that can protect them from any sort of harassment. But either way, we are starting to see lots and lots of tanks being built by Sharp. Sock's been on top of his, or by Sock. Sharp on top of his macro as well, has a lower tank count, or has a higher tank count, at least believe he does, at least from what I've seen on the screen. And then that's the great thing about watching Brood War games, is because the observer interface is actually exactly the same as a player interface. In fact, when observing was first being sort of done in Brood War was not like initially designed to be a big spectator game. So a lot of times, very early maps would just have like a random neutral building that would be the observer building that was either invisible or off the map, and so this is the observer mode that we get. Actually saw a front page post on Reddit of the Brood War client being hacked so much that you could play Mario in it, which is absolutely crazy because it involves like re-hacking triggers that had been patched out a while ago. Either way, a lot of the cool things that you see in maps, in map making, in the observer interface are actually unintended, but just because people wanted to make them in the game, they did. That's one of the great things about Brood Wars. It's very, very customizable. So trying to run by there with a couple of vultures, Sock is pushed away by very well-positioned units by Sharp. But here come a couple of big drop ships here. Sock might just be going for what is not necessarily a doom drop, but could deal massive damage to Sharp's weak point. And if he is a giant enemy crab, that will be highly uncomfortable. This might just kill the Sharp. Depending on how effective these two are, you can see immediately Sharp scouting it, Carp shouting it. Sharp scouting it. There we go. Wow, my spoonerisms are not helpful tonight, guys. Sock realizing it's been scouted, drops the attacking units off, kills off the scouting SCV, and retreats, at least for now. However, trying to pull back his units, Sharp actually did unsiege quite a few of the units he had back at his base, and is now proceeding to push back out on the map and might be looking to take control of this central base. Most likely not, at least immediately, but it's interesting to see where all of these tanks are going. Oh, it has to target either of these mines, and it looks like one mine went off, but the majority of the rest of them should be clearable. Now this is a big move by Sharp because he's taking the units back from his base and trying to put them out on the map in a way that will make it very, very difficult for Sock to take his third base. That's why I believe I can't exactly see what's going on down there at the 6 o'clock base. I don't think that's a base. I think that's just spider mines, but trying to keep track of everything, guys. So I'm gonna miss a few things. Bear with me, and hopefully all will be made clear in time. Oh boy. All right, so a big push out onto the left-hand side of the map here by Sharp. So the question is, how effective is this going to be? And what does this allow Sharp to do? So initially, what it's going to allow him to do is possibly expand behind it, just because it does take a lot to break big tank lines like that. However, you can actually see a lot of blue behind that push on the right-hand side of the map. Those are spider mines, which will make the reinforcing of that big top push by Sharp a little bit dangerous, possibly. Now, there you can see actually something really cool. The barracks is being floated over Sharp's tanks to use it kind of like scouting. But we can see more and more value being gleaned even, if you will, from Sock's early raids. He kept them alive and is actually using them to harass things like this base, which is the expansion I was talking about being set up behind that big tank line. Well, raids can actually circumvent that. They're cloaked right now, and they will be able to stop this base from being built. And he actually even maybe force a cancel. But he, because they actually deal very, very low damage, he's actually withdrawing with his raids, just because it would take them way too long to deal with. So notice that there are 4 raids and 1 Goliath. The raids deal so little damage that that's still not a fight that he wants to pick. They're primarily just used for inevitability and sitting them over tanks to force them to unsiege. But either way, harassment successful, but not successful enough to kill off that base. The raids stay alive for Sock. He will pull them back. Now, because of that giant mech arm that sort of reached out and grabbed a big chunk of the upper part of the map, now we get a chance to see whether or not Sock can break it. He's actually so good at doing that. Oh my god. Tank line's very, very strong, but if you are able to get vultures close enough, and I believe he has researched vultures speed. There's a speed upgrade for the vultures to make them so fast. He actually is able to clear off a lot of Sharp's push. That's actually huge for Sock, because not only does that mean that he's able to stay alive and get his third base up, but it also means that he's able to get that big wraith count into his opponent's base. So that's something to keep an eye on in the back, but here comes a big push in here for Sharp. Sieging up in the back lines. These tanks are all going to die. At least they should die as Goliaths push on in. That single solitary vulture tried to play mines on the tanks below, but here are the raids I talked about earlier. They're in the base dealing actually a lot of damage. They're cloaked, so it's going to take a lot to deal with them, and because there are actually a decent amount of them, these SCVs will die so quickly. Now there goes the scan. Those Goliaths, I believe, have range on them as well. Oh my god, I forgot the name of the Goliath missile upgrade. What is the name of that? Charon boosters? My god, I remember when I finally learned that. That was like the sickest name for an upgrade ever. Next to maybe Yamato Cannon, when I finally found out that was the name of a dude. I thought that they just named it a cool name, but no, man. There's actually some history about that. Not my best subject, in case you guys were wondering. Well, here comes in another vulture drop. So Sock is definitely trying to make up for maybe having a little bit of a weaker presence in the mid lane, or in the middle of the map. You can tell what game I cast. Either way, nice amounts of harassment with Raze in Sharp's base. He's making drops happen at the third, and really, really exciting to see such a dynamic game. Not just 2 giant tank lions, but both players really making a ton of exciting moves out on the map. Oh my god, so much going on. And I'm trying to keep up with it. Once again, I am but a lowly Archon. I have not been warged into yet by Tastosis across the world, so This is sort of the next phase of TVT. And in case you guys thought that giant tank lines was the end, no! There's more late game, and so what can you expect from the late game? Well, basically, in StarCraft 2, you remember you generally see a lot of drop ships carrying siege tanks around, so you can boost them in, drop all the tanks, and that's the way that you can make that happen. However, here, SOC is actually doing kind of the opposite, kind of the same version of that in Brood War. You load all of your tanks and all of your units and all of your everything into a huge amount of drop ships and go for the Doom Drop. And here it is, all the way in the middle of Sharp's base. Tanks sieging up, and there's almost no way to break this. Vultures trying to run in, trying to maybe lay mines out. There's SCVs in there. We will see who is going to come out on top. Wraiths cloaked on top, trying to save these tanks from vultures and spider mines running in. They do need to target those mines down, and they do for the most part, but this is actually very, very effective by SOC, able to draw back a lot of forces. However, Sharp has actually been able to secure control of most of his base. However, these raids in here are actually going to deal a lot of damage. More and more dropships coming in. I believe they are full of units. Was not exactly sure about that, but here come these raids. Raids are great air to air, and it's actually going to take out quite a few of Sharp's dropships, but if he's not careful, he's going to lose his raid count. His raids are one of the only things keeping SOC in this game so effective, but so ineffective when they dead, and they are. At least most of them. I think he went as high as like 5 or 6 raids, and now he's down to like 1 or 2, which are not scary, by the way, guys. Nobody's going to be running from one Wraith. And in fact, a lot of times one Wraith is used to sort of poke at your opponent and get him to unsiege his tanks, but it actually just does so little damage that if you have 2 SCVs, you can actually just chain repair in a way that makes that Wraith actually useless. But here we go, a big unsiege push in for SOC. Can he break this contained, or this wall for Sharp? He's moving on in. Looks like he has more tanks, although a lot of great siege shots coming in from the back. SOC just has too much. He's pushing on in, the tank line dissipating, sieging up. SOC is able to clear out so many of Sharp's units. My 6th grade grammar teacher is going to kill me after totally watching this, because everyone is watching this. That's what my mom told me. Told me everybody is watching me all the time. That was mostly just because I lived in America, for what it's worth. But this base up to the upper left-hand side of the map is under siege. Is this a strong enough harassment to kill off this base? It looks like the answer might be yes. You might want to lift that, but here come in a few vultures to try to spider mine their way out of this. Mines going down. Will they be dragged into the tanks? Holy hell, that was so good. Able to clear out most of those tanks in the back. Can control of this base be wrested away from Sharp? It looks like there is still one. I thought there was another tank up there, but it looks like SCV's the best unit in the game, next to the probe, of course, able to clear out the last little bit of that harass. And actually now we're starting to transition into, I keep talking about later and later phases of the game. It's almost like that's kind of what's happening. The map itself has been split in twain, rent in twain, as it will, and that means that from now on out, it's all about sort of predicting your opponent's movements. This becomes a little bit less like an RTS and more like a turn-based strategy. So you think to yourself, okay, well, where is my opponent going to go? And if you can predict correctly, you get there before them, or you lay spider mines, or you break a certain part of their contain, and then you just win because you can sort of make like a Pac-Man and just kind of eat the rest of it if you do get a big enough arc. Very, very mobile for both teams, for both players. Damn it. And now we get a chance to see whether or not there are enough tanks here. And when you are firing up on top of or onto the high ground, you have a missed chance. You can see how effective that is. Once again, a great way to break this, and such effective Wraith usage here for SOC. He's actually going to be able to clear up the majority of that force that pushed out there, and Sharp's aggression did not pay off. Great way to clear it out. Those raids, once again, able to kill off all of those dropships, and now there's actually more raids making it into the main. I don't think there's a missile turret by that command center, and that means that more SCVs are going to die, and there are no mules in Brood War. So here we go, more vultures coming out here. I think that is 3 attack upgrade for both players. So very, very strong units pushing through. Lots of stuff's going to die very, very quickly. However, don't want to get yourself in the middle of a contain. Scans going off there. Whose tank line is better? Vulture's starting to come around the top, and that might allow this run by to be incredibly effective. Wraith once again in the base, but there is a missile turret there. Missed that one last time around. And with spider mines being planted, that'll prevent things like tanks from coming up here to clear this out. I think actually Sharp should lose this. Sock able to both get into the base, plant enough spider mines to kill off Goliath like that, and oh, who's going to trade the hot potato back and forth? It is Sharp that wins out in the end. He was kind of cheating in his 1v1. He had an SCV repairing him. But either way, that actually did look like a game of hot potato, which may be something nobody knows about because I'm actually the oldest person alive. But either way, now we get a chance to see how the map is going to change after little sort of pokes and prods from both players have gone relatively unsuccessful. So Sharp actually pushed out and took control of that middle part of the map first. Now we're starting to see Sock, as this ever-fluid game, pushes out and gets control of that too. I actually think with Sock doing that little Pac-Man move where he moves out and just glomps off a big chunk of this wall, might have done it. However, with mines and pushing right on top, oh my god, those mines are so huge! They're able to, much larger than normal mines, guys. They're able to push back most of this push. Sock does have a ton of tanks down here, really committing to trying to break this siege wall. Oh my god, so intense, and it's just siege tanks firing at each other. That, among other things, is why Brood War is so good. Oh my god. All right. So we've seen Doom drops, we've seen Wraith harassed. Now we haven't seen nukes or battle cruisers, and that's a little bit interesting. Now, one thing that is at a premium is scan energy, so that's why we see a tiny little science vessel out here. That is mostly to scout for spider mines, allow them to be cleared out, but a big push in here, lots and lots of Goliaths pushing out here. Sharp trying to break this contain, but is he sharp enough to slice through the wall that is Sock? I think I mixed my metaphors a little bit there, but you get the idea. Moving forward, trying to push out again. This is so cool. And what you guys have to consider about this time in the game is that it's just how incredibly difficult it is to just move out on the map. That's why the science vessel is actually really cool by Sharp, because it allows him to just move around and clear out almost every spider mine on the map. It does have to worry about losing it. He loses it to the turret. Careless control there. Now he is forced to scan ahead of his army and try to clear out all the spider mines, which means that he might be in a little bit of a rough spot. Siege tanks getting siege shots getting a lot of value there in the back. Layered lines of siege tanks here, and oh my god, how did that many raids get there? So many raids, but more Goliaths on the ground, which means that Sock is actually a little bit on the back foot there, targeting down mines as he does push up. However, the bane of any push is the ramp, and that might make this a little bit more difficult for Sharp to push in to Sock's base. We'll see how effective this is. Lots and lots and lots of raids. Holy shnikes, that is a lot of raids out there. But is it enough to deal with all these Goliaths on the ground? The answer is no, by the way, guys. You don't want to fight a Wraith versus Goliath battle. That is just never going to go in your favor. It's like sledgehammers versus kittens. You know who's going to win before you even fight that fight. The siege tank wall pushing in, trying to deny that third. Looks like it is successful for Sharp, but oh, nice D-Matrix there on the tank, forcing it, or allowing it rather, to take more tank shots than the rest of them. Gives you a big shield, and that shield is enough to not only protect that tank, but allow Sharp to actually break that contain. I love the sound of science vessel dying. It's actually just the funniest. Either way, careless control on a lot of science vessels this game, and actually with that, it's not Academy, the science facility, there we go. God, it's been a long time since I've said that name. Either way, with that burning, it means that it's going to need to either be saved or, much like things that have the name Bernie, lose to something a little bit more controversial than they are. Here we go, big tank push in the mid lane. Vulture's running forward, trying to break the siege, but it's not enough. Sharp holds, and stops Sock from pushing in. Now here come these raids. They need to catch these tanks while there are no Goliaths around to protect them, and they will. Great positioning here by Sock. Not enough Goliaths where Sharp needs them. Now he is bringing them in from behind, but a few tanks taken out there. Sock losing the push, but able to sort of bring a little bit of it back with some great Wraith control. Now, his command center being floated over there to the 9 o'clock. That is the hardest base to take on the map. Maybe barring that middle expansion, but either way, you're expanding towards your opponent. Now, a lot of raids coming in here. Can they kill off enough Goliaths? Looks like they will be able to. So many raids and not enough Goliaths there on the ground means these raids are going to get a ton of value. They're going to get clear out that entire tank force, and that's going to force Sharp to move all of his Goliaths over there and try to catch him out of position. He actually does catch Sock unsieged there and might be able to take out this little tiny clump of tanks. Siege in the background, and Sharp is able to kill off most of those tanks, running vultures forward, tank-to-tank fire, and with a scan there should be able to equalize that situation. In case any of you guys are wondering how does he talk so much, the answer is with my vocal cords, which may not exist after this. Oh my god. Okay, so Sock actually just has so many raids, and this is kind of like a, I don't know, this is not a surprise, or at least it shouldn't be a surprise to Sharp, that he has a lot of raids, but I think the big surprise is that he has that many, and you actually just see Sharp not committing to playing the Wraith game. Once you're behind, unless you just have a ton more production, you're just gonna lose. So he's trying to keep ahead on Goliath production, but that actually means less tanks on the ground. The Goliaths are useful, much like the Vulture, to run forward and allow your tanks to run up and siege. But I actually think this number of raids could just be what wins Sock the game. He used them early on to harass, and now he's just kind of running around, trying to make things happen, trying to avoid these big Goliath clumps, and trying to run by with a few vultures there as well. Can he penetrate the base? Looks like yes, he can. 3 shots to kill an SCV, I believe, although he might have just missed-targeted there. Unsure about the upgrades here, but vultures running by actually going to be able to catch quite a few worker kills here in the back. Every time I see that many raids, it just kind of blows my mind. That is a lot, and he even has more back at home. And I think there's like 3 control groups of raids, 2 control groups at that. Can he kill off enough Goliaths to make this push worth it? I don't think so. Does turn around and kill off all the silence vessels. That means that any spider mines out of the map. Yeah, that's why you see the scan there. Raids cloaking up there, but I don't think there are actually enough Goliaths. However, Goliaths are so strong. They have 3 ground and air weapons. Oh my god. Yeah, so you're just not going to win there. Is that 0? Yeah, 0 air weapons there for the raids. If you're going to commit that heavily to raids, even just getting 1 upgrade is going to be worth it. And at this point, Sharp pushing forward is actually going to clear out a ton of Sock's ground units. This push actually could be what wins Sharp this game. It's all about the raids. I just don't think he can do it. So many Goliaths, and who cares about the harassment in the background if this is what wins you the game? Sharp pushing in on top of everything, all the production, getting sieged up there. Those starports forced to float. Not all the production, their factories in Maine. You get the idea. All the starport, all the Wraith production. Yeah, just assume what I said was right, and then we'll move on from there. A big push. A big push by Sharp does actually come away with dividends, but keep in mind, none of those bases are mining, neither the natural nor the main for Sock. So what's really important is dealing with the mining bases, because that's where all the money's coming from, contrary to popular opinion. Finally, all of that harassment gets cleared up. So Sharp stabilizes his economy in the back line. Now, I wasn't able to keep track of the vultures and see how many SCVs they killed, but I can assume that was actually mildly effective. All of those raids, and in fact, a ton of tanks being brought all the way up top just to protect the economy, and that's actually going to allow Sharp an opportunity to push in here. Preemptive D-Matrix there on the tank. Trying to keep it alive, or just give it a little bit more HP. I think it's a 150 HP shield, if I'm not mistaken. If I am, somebody out there remembers that number, and they can tell me. Instead of having a co-caster, I actually just have all of you guys watching. Unfortunately, I am unable to get live, real-time feedback like from a co-caster. That would actually be really cool if I'm just like casting with me and then I have all of you guys in like a, Twitch chat right beside me. Or Africa chat. I believe this is being broadcast there as well, in case that is your cup of tea. Maybe you don't like tea, and that's just your preference, and analogies don't work on you. I'm a Twittarian. Analogies don't work on me, pretty much. So this is going to be what either wins or loses Sharp the game. This huge push on in here. If you can siege the production, if you can make a big enough cut into the enemy base, then you can't make units, and it doesn't matter how much money he has. However, there's actually a lot in Sock's base, and you can see, oh my god, that's actually so many SCVs. It's like that scene from the second Matrix movie where you finally get a chance to see Zion, and right before they go off to fight the machines, they have this one. We're just gonna call it a party for lack of a less appropriate word, and that's kind of what's happening there with the SCVs. They are we're chilling out. So a ton of raids, a ton of dropship, and trying to keep an eye on exactly what the next move is. Like I said earlier, this is sort of that positional, turn-based kind of idea. Wait, okay, Sharp should maybe, I think he was planning on moving in and resieging those tanks, but instead he decided not to. Now he's actually moving up here, or Sack rather, is with all of his raids. I was like, that's too mobile to be tanks. Those are raids. Trying to see what the next move is, and it looks like for Sharp, he is trying to force a big wedge up into the entire economy of Sock at this point. Moving forward, although a huge amount of tanks there in the back. Here comes the siege. Will Sharp be able to clear out enough in his way? Here come the SCVs all the way on top of those tanks, but mass carnage there. It's SCV genocide. They are all going to die before they can really get on top of those tanks. This is, like I said, okay, well, I think it's what, 1, 2, 3 base there for Sock, and I think Sharp, aside from all of those vultures, has had his economy relatively unharassed. He's finally taken that 6 o'clock base, which I mentioned earlier is a very, very difficult base to take, and now Sharp is starting to really sort of go for this killing blow. He was able to stop mining at the 9 o'clock base, and now he's pushing in even further into the production as well. Like I said, killing off that 9 o'clock base would be huge, and there's GG. Sock just has no more money. Sharp coming out on top. My god, you see Sharp there taking a drink of his water. I cannot do that because I'm about to be on camera, but an incredible game there. You got to see a lot of subtle nuances of how late game TVT works. It's all about trying to still reach out on the map, acquire bases, and then question mark, profits. That's kind of the way that it works. Those question marks for this third game were actually very intricate. You got to see a lot of moving tanks and sieging tank lines. It takes an incredible amount of micro, and so it's actually really exciting to be able to see high-level Terran play here in 2016 Sharp. Really, really impressing. And you can actually see a lot of the reasons why he actually was able to play so highly in the Advanced StarLeague, which was the last StarLeague that immediately preceding this tournament. So Sharp is actually on point. He's looking sharp. I promised myself I would never make that joke. Looks like I'm bad at that. But either way, he actually has shown up in a big, big way. He's taken the advantage. He's now up 2-1 in our best of 5 here tonight, in our round of 8 match. In case you guys are looking for more Brood War action and want to tide yourself over during the break, you can go on Team Liquid and read the preview article about tonight's games and Tuesday's games, which is going to be Hero versus C. So you definitely do not want to miss those games. You can also head over to Twitter and tell all your friends there. Maybe you have friends at your house. You can knock on their door, wake them up at like 6 o'clock in the morning, tell them to watch Brood War, and let me know if you guys are going to do that, because then, well, I'll know if you go missing from your sleepy roommates waking you up. Either way, that's going to do it for our third game. We'll be taking a short commercial break before we head into game number 4 coming up next in tonight's ASL.
Love can never be wrong, we'll be outlaws, we'll be outlaws, we'll live like lovers. Love is higher than wrong, we'll be outlaws.
제주항공과 함께하는 2016년 컬러런 항공 승무원과 함께 반갑습니다.
장난 아니다. 막 채팅창 반응이 뜨겁습니다.
제주항공이 주최하는 갈라런답게
국내 최고 LCC로
활약을 하셔서 여행 하실 수 있게 그렇게 도와드리는
제주항공 파이팅!
그런 팀들이 여러 가지가 있는데
제주항공은 이벤트 회사 같은. 됐다.
괜찮아요? 어때요?
춤춘다!
제주항공은
처음이지?
제주항공 앞으로 평생 탈게요.
오 저거 소리 벗고 팬티 실러!
제주항공 화이팅! 가라랑 화이팅!
나는 KT 기가 인터넷. 당신과 방송국을 만들죠. 어디서나 우린 함께해요. 어때요? 나랑 콜라보 하실래요? 당신의 KT.
She's a yeah. Every day. 냠냠냠냠. 여기요.
대결의 룰을 아십니까? 승리한 자는 패배한 자의 트로피를 뺏습니다. 그리고 그의 자존심까지도. 클래시 로얄.
인형이 너의 슬픔을 씻어줄 것이다. RPG의 검은 획을 긋다. 크라이.
내 뒤에서 먼지나 먹으시지.
기분 째지는데?
치고끼는 역시 배달통. 배달의 힘 배달통.
메이플 스토리 2 신규 직업 스트라이커.
이거 좋은데?
봄꽃책에서 듣다. 있는 그대로 맑고 깨끗하게 피어나라고 겨울을 이겨낸 봄꽃이 내게 말했다. 맑고 깨끗한 칠성사이다.
답답할 때 마셔봐요 트로피카나. 상큼상큼 과일 듬뿍 스파클링. 리얼 프루트를 스파클링으로 과즙이 톡톡 쏜다. 트로피카나 스파클링.
미소가 생기다. 화사함이 생기다. 건강한 하루가 생기다. pH 8.0과 풍부한 미네랄로 핑크빛 생기가 생기다. 아이시스 8.0. 이제 모두 핑크하세요. 스타일? 상쾌하면 되는 거야. 상쾌함의 높이가 다르다. Stylish Sparkling Water 롯데 트래비.
네, 아프리카 TV와 함께하는 킹덤 스토리 연애의 신.
이거 사극을 찍는 것 같아요.
정말 안 어울립니다. 약간 왜소하고.
맞아요. 위초고 삼극 대결.
장비! 나이스! 나이스!
나 심쿵했어.
17,800원. 와, 군주는 무릎을 꿇을 수 있어요. 아, 뭐야 이거 어떻게 먹은 건데?
저에게는 간호 장비 같은 존재입니다. 진짜 유익한 게임이니까 여러분들 진짜로 많이 해보셨으면 좋겠습니다.
ASL.
Welcome back to the ASL. 3 games down, maybe 2 more to go, maybe 1. Sharp with a commanding 2 games to 1 score. 1 game lead. There we go. And there you can see the man himself on your screen. Sharp with a very technical late game win in game number 3 to take a 1-game lead in the series. Said that twice. There we go. And of course, on the other side, Sock has a little bit left to show. He had some very intricate, very interesting Wraith play in game number 3 that unfortunately just didn't work out. I'm not kidding you guys when, I don't know if your little brother's ever come up to you and he's like poking you, be the bigger man and just ignore it. That's what basically everything in Brood War does to Wraiths when they try to attack ground. Because it just does not deal very much damage, especially not against those highly upgraded Goliaths. I don't even think those Wraiths were very well upgraded. But that was game 3. We're about to get into game 4, so tell your friends, get on in here. Game number 4, Sock versus Sharp in tonight's ASL. In the bottom left, it is Sock. I promise I'm not saying just what I put on my feet before my shoes. It just sounds that way. In the purple, interesting color in the upper right-hand corner of Overwatch is going to be Sharp. Very few ways to mispronounce Sharp, unless you're one of those like Australian guys that would say shop, and that is what you buy things at, not actually something that's very pointy. Either way, we've got another TVT. In case you guys thought they changed races, no. Terran versus Terran, a very intricate game. We've seen rushes, we've seen counter rushes, and then we've seen very, very long games, long macro games that Sharp is just playing like a boss. Great macro by both players, really. Sometimes you'll actually see maybe one player is super good at micro, the other player is super good at macro. Well, if you're actually just a god at macro, you can afford to lose micro battles because you just have more stuff. Makes a lot of sense, right? Well, either way, that's the way that you do it. And for Sharp here tonight, he's actually proven to be right on par with Sock, and probably one of the reasons that a lot of people out there predicted a 3-1 victory in his favor. I saw some 3-2s, but the majority of people I talked to, I did survey a few of my Brood War friends who have tried to sort of get started back into watching it. They're the ones that are going to harass me about the things that I said that sounded really dumb afterwards. Alternatively, I could just read Reddit. But either way, as far as these games go, they've actually been very, very interesting. So if you're just getting into Brood War or you've been into it for a very long time, there's still plenty to learn on both sides. A couple of things to learn, maybe if you've been involved in Brood War for a very, very long time, is kind of the way that the current competitive meta goes. Now, both of these players have had previous professional careers. However, neither of them were at sort of their top, their pinnacle way back in the day. I think Sharp has a big opportunity to come back. He used to play on, I think it was Samsung Con, and I only remember seeing, I think, one of his games, but I might be misremembering that. Sock has actually been out there for a while. He was an ex-SKT Terran, and a lot of people used to call SKT SK Terran just because they had guys like Boxer and I Love OOV or I Love UV, which are just insane practice partners. Basically the best you could get out there, and certainly super, super great training that you get when you play a lot with them. So Sock maybe with a little bit of a better background, but when it comes to this, when it comes to this series, when it comes to this game, it's Sharp or Sock with maybe a better background, but Sharp just on point, up 1 game away from closing out this series and making it to the round of 4. To talk about the actual game that's going on here, as far as builds are concerned, both players with naturals up and ready to go. As I say that, the caster's curse shows that the base is unfortunately not up and ready to go there for Sock, because I believe he went barracks first and then expansion afterwards. However, this SCV is actually going to get into the main and see everything that's going on. Nothing too crazy, and should be able to stay alive there for a while, except, oh, actually, no, there's a supply depot wall up at the top, so he is dead, and unfortunately will not live to see another SCV day, except that there's no day-night cycle in Brood War, so one day is the entire lifespan of every unit here. It's actually kind of depressing when you think about it, because every unit, regardless, only exists for the duration of this game. I actually wonder if there are any stats or if there's ways to go back into Blizzard's Deep Dark Brood War servers and see exactly how many Marines have died in the entire course of Brood War. That would be very morbid, which is probably not something I should focus on. Thinking as I talk is very dangerous, guys. You should always think beforehand. You don't say things like that. But either way, let's go ahead and talk about the game as it unfolds. Once again, going to be mech all over the place, because bio balls die to tanks a lot. And while maybe you stim in and kill everything, it sadly just does not work that way a lot of the time. Plus, vultures also incredibly good at killing marines and medics at the same time. Siege Tank's just so good that you generally combine those two units for what is a very mech-centric TVT style. Now, this time around, it's actually kind of interesting to see the subtle nuances and characteristics between both players and exactly how they like to play their games. Sock is actually a little bit more maybe creative, maybe thinking outside the box. He's tried to do big things like Doom drops, like going for a very heavy Wraith play, and unfortunately it didn't work out. Actually, here is a great way to start to turn things around. You can see that before that Vulture dies, it kills 3 Marines. So that should tell you a little bit more about why players don't really go for bio, because you get mass Vultures and you can actually just kill it so fast. Now, obviously, stim and defensive upgrades help out a lot in that regard, but even still, it's all about that mech. So trying to see exactly how both players are playing this, and it looks fairly identical on both sides. This is not the most exciting early game, but by now you guys should probably have gotten sort of the rhythm of how TVT works. You start off with an expansion, you go into Vulture production, you research spider mines, you place the spider mines, and then you go into tank production and start to get out these big tank walls, siege your way forward, trying to claim more bases behind that big push. Hope you guys weren't taking notes on that. That was not in a bulleted structure, so don't try this at home. Either way, nice scouting on both sides. That's what these barracks are for. They're basically giant 1500 health scouts. They're like scans that move and have physical bodies and aren't produced from command center. Okay, they're not like scans at all, but either way, they do reveal the ground underneath them. This is what happens when you put one guy in front of 2 monitors. This is 1 caster, 2 monitors, and it does not work out. Alternatively, and I'll let you guys in on a little bit of a secret, sometimes, don't tell Tasteless I told you guys this, but we actually just turn around and watch the big screen behind us, which is actually so sick. And then we're just like a spectator that gets to talk about the games that everybody else is watching in exactly the same way. So we're basically a guy in the chat, in case you guys are wondering. We just, get to talk about it. And so we're seeing the same thing that we just got done seeing from Sock, Sharp scouting with a barracks of his own. Now, we're seeing a very similar style from Sock as well. He's moving into his starport, building things like those drop ships, and going for more of a drop play. And he can actually easily transfer into a Wraith play as well, like we got a chance to see in game number 2. So for now, still waiting to see exactly what's going on with the production there from that starport. There we go. Got it. If it is going to continue to be dropships, then this might accelerate to a little bit more of a... it might not accelerate to the late game, because you can actually just go for a Doom drop that, if effective enough, just wins you the game. Moving around with a lot of vultures, and that is going to at least secure a lot of the map for Sharp right now. But both players with decent spider mine fields laid out there, and dropships coming out for Sock as well. we'll see what drops out of this line. Don't drop me, bro. You do not want to set something down on top of a million vultures. You also don't know where the spider minefields are. Remember casting early on in ASL, or no, it was actually the KT Giga show match. Nara had this teleport right on top of a giant field of spider mines that, spoiler alert, does not work out. So now we're starting to see both players push out of their bases. They've decided that they need more resources and need to get those from outside their starting two bases. This is rocket science, I know, guys, but that's why you see both players pushing out, trying to get a third. Keeping an eye on production. So if you're a pro player, and this is something that I don't do, but if you're listening to either Tasteless or Artosis cast this, then you'll probably see them like count production facilities. You have to be able to do that very, very quickly, because when you see them, you're like, okay, he has this much production, and then you sort of calculate, okay, I need to go up to this many and see if I can make that happen. Now, here comes a big push in. These tanks are unsieged now, sieging for Sock. Will he get enough of them off in time? Looks like Vulture's moving forward. Can they kill off these tanks in time? Huge spider mine hits! Oh my god, what an explosion! And that is going to be Sharp winning that fight handily. Now, if he's fast enough, he can actually continue this push and kind of try to roll over Sock, because he actually just lost so much. However, it's very difficult to do just because it's hard to control that many units, and you have to watch out for running into spider mine fields of his own. So better safe than sorry. Still a big win there for Sharp. Just thinking about the sheer amount of minerals and gas that just exploded there is actually insane. Now, here comes the opportunity for a little bit of a vulture run, or not run by, but drop. Once again, great vulture positioning there by Sharp, able to just sort of meet and greet it and smack it down. Like I guess that's like those are the bouncer vultures. Trying to keep that from getting in there. Now, another feature of spider mines is that they block expansions. Unfortunately, when you place them just around the area where your expansions land, less effective at that. Cheeky little spider mine there. Spiders don't have cheeks, so they can't do things cheekily. Killing off that tank. This is what happens when you talk for too long. When you speak for too long, you make grammar errors. Either way, the way that Sharp is pushing out here signals that he does know that he won that big engagement, and just because he has so many more vultures, he's not necessarily going for a killing blow, but he knows if he can deny this 9 o'clock base from Sock, then he actually just wins the game, because there's nowhere else he can go for minerals unless he takes like a ninja expansion, which basically never happens. So we get a chance to see Sharp go in for what is sort of the economic killing blow, trying to run by with a lot of vultures, push through. He has enough Goliaths so that if there are any cheeky rays, then he can actually just take them down, and this might actually just be the push that wins Sharp the game. If he can take this engagement, then there's not enough to defend this 9 o'clock base. It looks like Sharp, or Sock rather, has defended somewhat and is able to take out most of these tanks pushing in. So Sock defends. I hope I said Sock earlier. If I'm messing up these guys' names, then that is highly unfortunate. But here come a couple of raids. They are taking out some drop ships, so at least that's working out for Sharp. And I like that he has made just a few raids. He's not trying to fight the Wraith War. He's actually just trying to deter drop ships. In case you were watching earlier, Sock's drops, which sounds weird to say, Sock's drops were actually uncontested because nothing could shoot up. It was actually just, wow. Okay, well, they killed that Goliath. Must have been very low HP. Anytime you see a Wraith two-shot a Goliath, you know something's up. Either way, at least at this point in time, trying to take an expansion of his own is Sharp up at the 12 o'clock. In case you guys are seeing like hearing these numbers or seeing the numbers on the screen next to the versus sign, you wonder what those are. If you pretend like the map is a clock, then you basically just go to that position on the clock, and that's one way of just verbally referencing the location of something on the map. So 12 o'clock's at the top, 6 o'clock's at the bottom, you get the idea. I know I didn't have to explain that, but somewhere out there's some poor sad nerd that like just got off work, he's super tired, and he's like, why are there numbers on my screen? Well, that's what they are. So, back to the matter at hand, Sock is in a decent spot. He lost those that huge engagement where Spider Mines blew up his big push, and so is maybe a little bit on the back foot. But for now, he's actually kind of restabilized. Now he is the one pushing out on the map. However, might he have overextended? Possibly, as now there's a lot of vultures. Actually, Sock, I think, winning the vulture war, but losing the tank war, and so he will be forced to pull back for now. So many more tanks there for Sharp. I guess Sock must have the rest of his tanks elsewhere. I think they're sieged up by that 9 o'clock base, but he actually did lose a lot of tanks there from those spider mines exploding on them, so he might have just tried to go all-out vultures, run them on top of the sieged tanks, and try to win that way, because I just don't see that many tanks for Sock at this point. He's trying to run by, and oh my god, a huge vulture run by! Should be able to clear out most of those SCVs, and that's actually really big, because not only will he be able to plant spider mines behind enemy lines, Spider Mines behind lines, but he is also able to take out a decent chunk of Sharp's production. So that's incredibly effective. He's actually going to get cleaned up here, but the damage has been done, and denying mining at that base is a big, big deal. Now, at the same time, Sock is pushed out and has been able to secure himself his own third base at that 9 o'clock location, and that's very, very, very important, and could be the point at the point of contention that both players go for to decide who wins the game. Because right now, okay, Goliath, you can actually just turn around and kill those raids. Just kidding, you can't see them. That's why that is the cowardly Goliath. He would be a lion in the Wizard of Oz. And so now we need to see some sort of way to get vision. They're on top of the tanks, otherwise those raids are going to go crazy. So that would be something like a scan, most likely a science vessel. We did see the science facility earlier. Should be used to produce those, but to allow those to be produced. Let me put it that way. So Sharp, more tanks. Sock, more vultures. Also a probably better economy. He was down a base, and actually the big problem, if you look up at the 12 o'clock and then consequently the 3 o'clock as well, is that there's actually just more bases there for Sharp. However, the harassment from Sock has been pretty darn dominant, and that is maybe what's keeping this a little bit more even, because it actually is kind of even. Tasteless talks about this a lot, about the comeback mechanic as you get later and later into the game. If you have more units, it's harder to do stuff with them because of how limited control groups are and how difficult it is to move your army around the map. So you can see Sock trying to do things just to be annoying, because annoyance is very, very... you get a lot from being annoying. Life lessons from Brood War. So just by going for this vulture run by again, planting down those mines, it means that not only does Sharp have to reposition his army, try to take out all the vultures and keep them from killing his SCVs, but he also has to clear out the spider mines as well. Now, this is actually kind of interesting because we saw this in game number 3. What do vultures do? Are they effective enough? This time around, oh, this is really cool. So there's a unit that flies that is not a vulture there, and that is called a Valkyrie. Now, Valkyries are a lot like Liberators without the ability to siege, so they deal area of effect missile damage in the air. So if you do have a big, if you're dealing with an opponent that has a big clump of raids or mutalisks or anything like that, you get a couple of Valkyries and you bust them. That's kind of how it happens. Very effective harassment here by Sock, but this time around it's actually just used to, once again, very effectively clean up this attempt by Sharp at pushing into this 9 o'clock base. Sharp continuing to try to go up there, great target firing on those mines, slowly and surely trying to get up there, but I'm not sure if he can actually make this work. Now there's a lot of raids there for Sock. If he can come up there, kill off the Goliaths, and that is a recipe for success. Moving forward with SCVs, but it looks like that SCV, it's the saddest SCV in the world right there, guys. Trying to see exactly how Sharp is trying to get around this defensive tank line. It's like relatively effective. Also have not been keeping up with upgrades on units, so it looks like no Wraith upgrades there for Sock. Maybe Sharp has one. Let's take a look at ground upgrades as soon as we select a attacking unit down there. In the meantime, this is actually going to be an attempt by Sock at reaching out with a big Terran arm and trying to take control of stuff with a lot of vultures on the bottom left, or bottom right rather, side of the map, trying to clear it out, making sure that he can deal with it. However, not enough Goliaths or Rays to take care of these tanks, and that Valkyrie is massive. That Valkyrie is allowing all of those Rays to kill off a decent number of tanks there in the middle and really allow Sharp the ability to establish a berth there in the center of the map. We still have to take another look at this, but here comes Sharp moving in with a lot of tanks. Can he target down the Widow Mines fast enough, quickly enough? It looks like he can, but so many Rays and that lone Valkyrie from Sharp. It's the ride of the Valkyrie, just singular, but still incredibly effective and now actually able to really threaten that 9 o'clock base. However, there's so much going on the map, it's difficult to keep an eye on. But the biggest, most important thing for Sharp is can he hold on to that 9 o'clock? And it looks like Sock really, or for Sock rather, is can he hold on to the 9 o'clock? For Sharp, he's trying to kill that, and he also has to make sure that he protects the center of the map. It looks like Sock is making a big push up here, able to clear out a bunch of tanks, but can he clear them out quickly enough? It looks like Sock has done it. He's taken control of the center of the map, should be able to take out most of the, if not all of these tanks. And oh my god, every time I look, there's just an insane number of Rays out on the map. And it looks like I was definitely gotten to see the Valkyrie and how effective that can be. I'm actually really excited about that. I don't think Sock has a Valkyrie. I think it's just Sharp at this point. So that could be the deciding difference, which is usually what differences do, is decide things. But either way, a lot of cloaked Rays here, very effective. But here comes in that Valkyrie and all of the Rays for Sharp. This could be a big decider. Sharp able to get right on top of all of these tanks with every single Wraith, and these tanks are just not going to last. In case you're wondering why Sock doesn't unsiege at that point and try to run away, it's because at that point your tanks are basically useless. That allows your opponent to move his tanks forward and not have to worry about getting hit by siege shots. Holy cow, this is actually so sick. Lots going on, very difficult to control all of this. So it's easy to watch, but it's incredibly difficult to do. And I actually challenge you guys, if you're looking at this and wondering and thinking to yourself, oh my god, these guys are so bad, why aren't they just selecting everything and moving forward? You can't do that. You can only have 12 units to a control group, and that makes it very difficult in these late game situations to do big sweeping movements across the map. So, like I said, I challenge you guys, get into a game of Brood War. We've actually just been, I think the most recent patch to Brood War was, clearing things up, making it work a little bit more smoothly. You guys can get out there and go take care of that too. Get into a game of Brood War and try to do this, and I almost promise you, you'll be pulling your hair out, because it is so difficult to just to control your units at this late stage of the game, which is definitely where we are going. Oh my god, did he target fire all of those? No. Oh my god, he's so good, taking out so many of those mines. Is he gonna lose those tanks and Goliaths? He's actually just so good at targeting them down. Right as I say that, of course, the Caster's Curse kicks in and the Goliath dies, but it's still impressive. All right, that's my my main point. Now, we haven't seen either one of these big Wraith balls interact with each other, and I almost want to, okay, so Sock definitely wins the Wraith War head-to-head. It's all about that Valkyrie and how effective that can be. Looks like we might have the balls of Wraiths collide with each other. Here we go, cloaking up. Here comes Sock. Cloak reflexively there on Sharp's Wraiths, but is that Valkyrie going to come out? Yeah, so right now, Sharp just loses the Wraith battle. He either needs to get more Wraiths or try to commit on those Valkyries and let that really control whether or not he wins those fights. However, if the Valkyrie, which is very bad at a one-to-one battle, just explodes initially, then Sharp loses everything, and then the game closes out more slowly. One thing that I am super glad about is that there's no clock on the screen. Otherwise, I'd be able to... Okay, there is a clock, right as I see that. 22-minute game, but it feels like 44 because I'm the only person speaking for the majority of it. Wraith on Wraith action! How good is that Valkyrie? Well, good enough to push Sock back, but I think he's actually just going to go for it. A lot of Goliaths on the ground here for Sharp. This could be the final countdown, the final battle. It's all coming down to the Wraith on Wraith Goliath action. Turns out Goliaths are pretty good. However, they do need detection to kill off the last remaining Wraiths. Now, nothing much happens other than both teams, both players losing most of their rays. Yeah, Goliaths are actually, they're like ground rays that shoot up. Okay, they're not actually like that at all, but the missiles are... This thing that's not like this other thing is totally like it, except not. Okay, I kind of ran out of analogies there. I wrote down all my bad jokes early on, I've just crossed them all off, and now we're only left with the the other stuff. So let's take a look at the map, because the game is always a bastion for every commentator to retreat to anytime something goes terribly wrong. Much like that base, very dangerous, in danger of burning down. Need to see some SCVs repairing that. Vulturino run by there, trying to take out a bunch of SCVs, and it looks like it will be very effective at taking those out. There's that the little Valkyrie that could or couldn't really make much of a difference in this game. The base actually, okay, I was like, did he float that base? It's like, no, it's actually just a second base that he's waiting to float out, but GG's there for Sock. Sharp has strangled him too long, and that'll mean that Sharp taking off his headset with a look of victory in his eyes. He, not we, are the champions here tonight. Sharp coming out with the predicted 3-1 victory. My God, you can see the fist pumps there. He just spent hours of his life playing a video game for tons and tons of money in front of adoring crowds. What world is this? What the planet Earth? This is Seoul, South Korea, and Sharp is a sick Terran. There you can see a slightly less sick Terran, able to take one game. Sock will unfortunately be eliminated from the round of 8, the ASL tonight. Packing up his keyboard. Not sure exactly which brand it is, but it looked like a ducky. And that's going to do it for our series tonight. A 3-1 victory for Sharp, heading into our interview with one of our Korean casters. And here we go, an interview with our victor tonight. Once again, Sharp, you made it into the semifinals. How did that make you feel?
시즌 연속 2번 4강 이렇게 올라가게 돼서 너무 영광이 기쁩니다.
예, 오늘 경기
I'm very happy that I advanced to the semifinals 2 consecutive seasons in a row.
때문에 꼭 이길 거라 생각했습니다.
예, 언제쯤
I knew I could defeat him because I practiced very hard for this match.
아무래도 이제 투혼에서 좀 안 좋았었는데 그 경기를 이기고 나서 괜찮아진 것 같아요.
보통 선수 입장에서 그런
After winning the match on Fighting Spirit, that was the moment that I knew I could advance tonight. I was able to turn the tables around after falling into a pretty big deficit.
아무래도 마지막 경기는 이제 똑같은 빌드를 시작하긴 했는데 일단은 호선이 형이 좀 스타포트로 해가지고 제가 약간 좀 벌처류를 많이 해가지고
The last set, Sock went for starports, and I focused on my vultures. And I think that decision changed the outcome of the match.
경력이 좀 많이 있어가지고 또 언덕이라서 괜찮았다고 생각했습니다.
예, 그런데 다 좋아하는데 오늘 두 번째 세트는
The last battle, I was able to fight on top of the hill, so I had better position, had the mischance on his side.
SCV 한기 뭐 임금을 안 준 건가요? 왜 상대방 앞마당에서 뭐 하고 있었던 거죠?
잘 모르겠습니다.
So what was the SCV doing in the opponent's expansion during the rush? He says, I don't know, I sent him to repair my units, but he decided not to work today, so he had the day off.
예, 다음에 똑바로 잘 하실 수 있죠? 예,
I won't make that mistake again in the semifinals.
선호하는 상대 누군가요?
아무래도
So who do you want to face in the semifinals?
너무 잘하고 밀장 형도 너무 잘하시는 선수인데 그 누구랑 붙어도 다 정말 저한테는 좀 영광인 선수.
C and Hero are both very strong players.
스테전만 올라왔으니까
I'm going to face Honored if I face either one of them.
밀장 형이 잘했으면
I play against Terrans a lot, so I want to play against the Zerg now.
상관은 없지만
But I'm good friends with C.
적어도 잡아보고
So I also hope C can advance. So I don't really mind who advances.
자, 그렇다면 그 4강에서 어떤 선수가 될지는 아직 결과를 두고 봐야 되는 건데 자, 이번에 목표 자 여기까지 왔으니까 이제
So
슬슬
tell
또
us
바뀔 거
about your
아니에요,
goals
생각이.
for this season.
저번 시즌에도 이렇게 똑같이 4강에 올라갔을 때 이 한 무대만 넘기면 진짜 제 꿈에 그리던 그 결승 무대에 밟을 수 있었는데 그때는
Last season
제가
when I
많이
advanced to the
이제
semifinals,
심리적으로 또
I
희동형이랑
really wanted
큰
to
산
advance to
때문에
the
못
finals.
넘었었는데
So
이번에는
that's my
진짜
dream,
제가
to play on the
아프리카를
final
하게
stage.
되니까 스타리그
I
꼭
couldn't
결승
achieve that
무대에
last
올라가고
season,
싶었거든요.
but I
그렇기
want to do
때문에
that
정말
this
열심히 했기
season.
때문에 이번에 꼭
I practiced really hard so I can advance to the finals. So that is my goal, to stand on that final stage.
이렇게 멋진 경기를 또 보여주면서 이제 우승까지 노리고 있는 조기석 선수였고, 자 마지막으로 뭐 이 고마워할 만한 분들에게 한 말씀 하셔야죠.
일단은 이영호 선수가
Any people you want to say thank you
이영호
to?
선수와 이재호 선수와 영진
He says,
유영진
Flash
선수가
actually helped me
이렇게
practice for this
도와줬는데
match.
정말
So I want to say
감사드린다고
thank you to Flash.
말씀드리고 싶고, 그리고 또 아직까지 이제 제가 또 유명한 선수가 아니다 보니까
I think every Terran can say thank you
사람들이
to
걱정하는
Flash.
부분들이 많은데
Definitely one of the big
그래도
innovators.
좋은 경기력으로 진짜 재밌는 경기를 보여드리면은
I'm not that popular in Korea yet,
조금이나마 덜어줄 수 있지 않을까 싶어서
so
많이
my
응원 좀
family is kind of worried about that.
예,
But I think if I continue to do well like this, I'll gain a lot of popularity in Korea.
조심 가십시오.
예, 감사합니다.
예, 박상현 캐스터 나와주세요.
So thanks to all of his fans and all of the viewers for cheering him on, and a big thanks to all of you guys for coming out and watching this. If you are here in the fabulous GSL studios, the Africa studios, well, you've definitely blessed our reigns down here in Africa. But I do want to thank everyone out there for tuning in. Not all heroes wear capes, guys. So in case you guys are not wearing capes, which I assume would be not very many of you, because you're all giant nerds. No, I'm just kidding. Some of them wear gray suit coats. So if you guys have tuned in for the entirety of tonight's broadcast, then a very, very big thank you to all of you. And here we go. We're going to see our final match results. It's a 3-1 victory for Sharp over Sock, and that is going to mean that Sock drops out and Sharp advances to face the winner of C or Hero. Only one Zerg made it through to this round, to the round of 8. Lots and lots of Terrans, so we'll see how that match happens on Tuesday. So I hope you guys will be back there for Tuesday, and I hope you enjoyed the matches here tonight. It was actually a very impressive macro-focused game, but not without a little bit of micro thrown in there, a little bit of a cheesy cheese, but it worked out, and it was very exciting to watch. Much like the rest of this series, lots of stuff going on, and that's Brood War, guys. Even if it's not, giant armies colliding all the time, it's still incredibly exciting. Now here's our Tuesday match, C versus Hero, not the Protoss Hero player on CJ. This is the first Hero, the original Hero, the first and last action hero. And that'll be our match coming up on Tuesday. It will most likely be just me here again, so if you have any additional feedback, I would love to hear what you have to say. So make sure to head on over to Twitter. Tweet at RapidCasting and let me know what you thought of tonight's broadcast. If you have any suggestion, feedbacks, I'd love to hear what you have to say. Or if you would just like to let me know what you have out for Harambe at RapidCasting, I'd love to hear from you all. It's been a blast to be with you here tonight, and I may not love you as much as Tasteless, but thanks for watching. Have a great evening.